Hello, everyone, and welcome to our very first Creative Talk, a show for creatives by creatives that talk creative. My name is Shanay Miles, and I will be doing this wonderful discussion today with none other than Luis Duvall. I am so excited to have him. He is such a great, talented artist. And so now I'm actually going to bring him up so that he can introduce himself and share a little bit about himself. Everyone, let's welcome Louise. Hey,
Hey,
Louise,
welcome.
welcome.
Thank you. Thank
How
you
are
for having.
you?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited about this first show that you're doing, and thank you for inviting me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Louise, can you share a little bit about yourself and what you do, and just a little bit about your background?
My name is Luis Del Valle. I was born in Nicaragua in 1980 and migrated to the United States around 1986, going on 87. And we migrated because of the war that was going on down there between the Contras and the Sandinistas. And my parents thought it wouldn't be a good place to raise your child, so they thought that moving from that area would be the best thing to do. We migrated to Honduras, a neighboring country, but it seemed like the situation wasn't that much better than Nicaragua because the countries were so close to each other that whatever's happening in one country just spills over to the next one. So then the next step was to come to the U.S. And we knew no one here, so we're like the first generation here. Didn't My parents didn't speak any English, and neither did I. So I had to actually learn English myself when I started going to school here. And at a very young age, um, I thought I wanted to be a soccer player. I used to play soccer 24, as much as I could, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Being a kid, that's all I wanted to do. And in my mind, I thought I wanted to be a soccer player. But I noticed that um, I could only be me being mediocre. I never got good enough to be noticed by, be like, oh man, that guy can play really well. So then I started realizing that maybe I needed to get some better cleats, some better soccer shoes. So I got my parents to buy me the best soccer shoes they can get. I wore them for I think 1 or 2 times at the most, and they were Copa Mundial. There's like the best soccer cleats I could get at the time. Um, and then I let my friends borrow them because he said he needed some cleats to play. And I never saw my friend again for maybe 2 or 3 years after I let him borrow my cleats. And that kind of led me to really start spray painting. And at the age of 13, I started doing graffiti around the city because I didn't have my soccer shoes anymore. It's like from one day to another, I kind of forgot about soccer. And I used to always draw as a kid. I used to draw G.I. Joe, Ninja Turtles, and every cartoon character that I love, Bart Simpson. I would draw them out. But then I started just spray painting the streets, and the things that I was doing in small scale, I started doing it in larger scale. So that's how kind of like how I got into art, not knowing that I was an artist from the beginning, thinking I was a soccer player. So I learned that little incident right there taught me so many things about life in general. I think you're on mute.
Yes, yes. Yeah, so you basically found art by mistake, and it was really based off of circumstances. As you
Mhm.
stated, you wanted to play soccer and you couldn't afford the cleats that you wanted, so you ended up saying, "Oh, well, I know how to draw. Let me do this." When did you like really discover that that was something that you wanted to just stick with?
Yeah, at the age of 16, I started taking my fine art classes with my high school teacher, Miss Giglino, and she was seeing something in me that I wasn't seeing in myself. And it seemed like a lot of the skills that I had were very advanced for my age, and I also was tackling a lot of topics that were very also advanced and things that kids my age wouldn't normally tackle. And she started really encouraging me. I won several awards, and the funny thing is that there would be like like award ceremonies at school, and a lot of times I wouldn't attend them, and I would be skipping them, because we you don't want to go to school, so you get a chance to skip class. So I would get an award and I wouldn't be there. And then people will be asking, oh, you got an award for this. So I wasn't used to getting awards for anything. And that really kind of put me on a path that really pushed me to get more serious about art. And then I really, beyond what I was learning in school, I started studying art outside of school on my own, and really started to see what is the most difficult thing that I can learn about art, so I can master the most difficult thing, and then I can just do the other things that just, are more fun. And that's how I got into really painting a lot of portraits and focusing on that.
Awesome, awesome. I was looking at a video, and I believe this video someone may have done with you a few years ago, and you were just describing some of the paintings that you were drawing, and like you stated that some of them were like heavy topics. Can you give us an example of some paintings and visuals that you were creating that were considered heavy topics for your age?
Yeah, one of the ones that kind of stands out, it might be the one you're talking about, is the one of the beggar who found the blessing. And this is a painting of a that I did. I think I might have been about 16 when I did that, and it speaks to my surroundings. And in my area, I used to live in Uptown. That we call Uptown is Columbia Heights area before it got developed. And in my before, when I used to walk out of my apartment building in the when I used to walk out of my apartment in the third floor, I have to hop over, like drug addicts that were sleeping in the stairwells, and people that I started just knowing my surroundings, even before that. But now it's like I was really talking to these people, encountering them, saying good morning to them, and I started seeing how they, even though they didn't have much, a lot of them were caught up in this, terrible drug addiction. I started seeing the dignity in them as a person, and I didn't want to always judge them based on what you see in the exterior, or what is more easy to judge them for, like being a drug addict, or uh, just just being out there in the streets. And I found out a lot of them sometimes have, a lot of uh, deadly sexual transmitted diseases. And beyond that, I started just thinking about humanity. And when I painted this beggar, I wanted to paint them in the best light possible. And I also wanted to paint them with a in a style of the Renaissance, which is very realistic and has a lot of very bright colors, but a lot of times the background is kind of dark. It also made the figure be the main focus of the painting. And I also
Mhm,
wanted to speak to the fact that sometimes, even though you don't have anything, God can still bless you, and you can still find joy within your chaotic situation. And that taught me so many things. And the thing about my paintings also is that when I'm creating something about a specific topic, I don't always know the whole how everything is going to look, or how it's going to turn out from the beginning. It seems like I'm doing it as I when I'm done with it. It's like all my ideas come together, but I didn't have all my ideas together while I was doing it. I don't know if that makes any sense,
mhm.
but it kind of happens like that a lot. It's kind of like an automatic way of processing my experiences. And the other thing that I was very that I didn't know wasn't too normal is that I didn't used to sketch my drawings out. I used to just do one whole drawing and, complete the painting and everything. I wouldn't have like studies. And they used to ask me about studies and how did I go about creating this composition, and I was like, no, I just did it. So that was something that I had a big advantage of too, just being able to do those things fast.
Nice. I really like how you mentioned that for you, um, when you saw, like people, like whether they were that you had to hop over the beggars and some of the drug addicts, and how their life was chaotic, and they didn't necessarily choose to be that way, and how you wanted to paint them in the best, or even sketch them in the best light. Did you kind of find yourself? Did you like see a little bit of yourself, like though you weren't an addict or a beggar? Did you see a little bit of yourself in them and say, "Hey, you know what? I want to see, even in my circumstances, I want to see the best light." So were you almost like finding pieces of yourself and that hope that you wish for yourself, drawing that for them?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, I'm the kind of person that I look at someone that's very less fortunate, And one of the things about life is that that can happen to anybody. And
Mhm.
sometimes we can be very judgmental. We can be, oh, he's a lazy person. He doesn't want to work. Why is he asking for money? Why doesn't he work? He's young. And sometimes I could have, sometimes those thoughts come to us, but sometimes people are dealt a hand in life that is very difficult, and not everyone has a very strong mindset to be able to overcome a lot of you know situations that are very easy to overcome. And I've had those
Mhm.
situations as an older person, not maybe as a young person, but facing similar, not necessarily being homeless or anything like that, but facing situations in which I thought that I may not want to live anymore because I was in a car accident. I was not able to paint, so I could have very easily given up on life and just destroy myself. And I think a lot of times, those people that we look at, if we just look at who they are as a human being and not as who the negative things that they do, I think we can really find a little bit of ourselves in them, because we all have kind of messed up insides that not everybody can see, and a lot of us are able to hide it a lot better.
Also, I call it a lot of us are able to be more functional than
Yeah,
others.
definitely. Yeah, you have functional addicts, you have functional
Mhm.
drug abusers, and it just so happens that some people can't do it, but a lot of us can hide things.
Yeah, yeah. Tell us about, what was like your first piece that really, um that people started to recognize you for, especially your mission of spreading love through hope. What was your very first piece that people said, "Wow, I really like this, and I see clearly his message"?
The first piece I did, I think it might have been in 1998. I was about 18, probably 17 going on 18. I did a piece for Neighbors Consejos, and this is a piece that it's for an organization that helps people that are trying to overcome drugs. And I did a painting called The Overcomer. And I really, when I did this mural, it was my first mural of a human figure. It was mostly a nude that I was doing, overcoming the world. And creating that painting, I actually entered the competition about 2 weeks late, and I came in. I think I just showed up to the building because I didn't send in my information like I was supposed to. Somebody told me about it. I just put together some concepts, and then I came into the building and showed them a large sketch that I had done. And the funny thing is that I had not never done a large scale figure painting like that. It was supposed to be a two-story building inside of a inside of this institution, and I surprised myself when I did that, because I was able to complete this project within the time frame that they gave me, and it really showcased my ability to portray the human anatomy in a very proportionate way. And I also was able to tell a story. So putting together my skills as a portrait artist, a figurative painting, and also being able to tell a story really spoke to my ability to do more than just paint things that decorate a wall. And I think that also helped me, and I got great reviews on that painting, and that also gave me that kind of catapulted me to be able to go for other opportunities. And I thought that you know things fell into place always fall into place at a good time without me necessarily having to plan things out. So sometimes people think I have a master plan that I follow, and then everything goes according to plan, and it's not true. I just try to make this happen, but then some things just God has things prepared for you, and He makes it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, to be honest, Louise, I think every artist, uh, even myself, when you're like a creative, it's really hard to have like a concrete plan of this is how you want it to turn out. And as you stated, it's literally like as you go along. And then but then also the most beautiful part is that you'll begin to, as you begin to do different pieces, and I'm sure you've experienced this, you'd be like, "Oh, wow." Like, you see, okay, this in all of this is my core message. This is my
Mhm.
core story that I'm telling. And that's really what you're expressing. And so though it seems like I don't really know how this is going to turn out, at the
Mm.
to a certain extent, in our inner selves, we do know how it's going to turn out. It's just that we express it through our art, and
Yeah.
it just comes out. It can't come out like, I can't sit here and tell you, you know, Louise, I think I want this video to look this way or this lighting to look this way. But it's like it just all comes together, and as you said, it's it's just it's almost like you said, sometimes a God inspired thing where you just get these ideas and they just start to come together, and it's like a
Yeah.
puzzle and the pieces come.
Yeah.
I want to say, I actually go back to a question. I know that you mentioned that you were inspired by some you know, the Renaissance artists. Can you name a few artists that from the Renaissance that inspired you, and why?
Um, One of my top artists is um, Michelangelo, and I love him because he wasn't only able to do painting, but he also did sculpture. And as an artist, he was very troubled. But he also was forced in a way to do something that he didn't want to do. He did it, and he became one of the most popular things in the world because he did the Sistine Chapel. Pope Julius
Mhm,
II actually kind of forced him to do it because he considered himself just a painter, not I mean a sculptor, not and not necessarily a painter. And sometimes he taught me that sometimes some of your art collectors or some people may give you advice to do something and you may not want to do it because you don't think, oh, I'm not that kind of artist. But then if you try it, you may end up doing something that you didn't know you had to do to get to the next level. And I learned so much from him. And also like Leonardo Da Vinci, a lot of the people that you hear about today that are so popular today because of the movies, I was really into them when I used to read a hardcover book and had to flip the pages and go to the library. Now they're becoming so popular, so I love the fact that they're giving the credit even after 500-600 years that they've been passed away. And even through a modern artist that was really also kind of like a Renaissance artist is Salvador Dali, and I love his work because it's so it speaks to, and I can say it speaks so many languages with the surrealist movement and being able to um, try to paint, the ideas that he supposedly got from the subconscious, and being able to explore the inner self, your inner self, and also try to put that out to the people in manners that have not been done before. And
mhm,
I think he's in I also like the fact that he also target a lot of issues dealing with even sometimes with politics or religious issues, and he kept it so that people could understand it and not necessarily
mhm.
throw people off and be like, "Oh, I don't want to look at him because he does just religious art." It was done in such a way that it could be appreciated by anybody, even an atheist.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, art has a way of really, like you said, bringing people together with differences, whether it's religion, their values. Oh, actually, no, no, no. I'm sorry. Art has a way of bringing people together, and depending on which person that you're talking to, it has a way of creating division. But at the end of the day, it art has a way of speaking a message and getting that message out. And that's the most powerful and the most powerful impact of art. Um, Knowing that you're not originally from the U.S., how did your art change when you transitioned to the United States?
I think the United States was my birthplace of being an artist. So I think I was
Mhm,
born here an artist. It's like I came as a like an infant, almost like a fetus, and then I came to the U.S. and it's like I was birthed into being an artist. So my
mhm,
whole artistic career has been inspired and been influenced by the United States, the hip hop
mhm,
culture, especially. Living in my
mhm,
neighborhood, I have Laura Carlos. I think she's online here. She grew up in my neighborhood, so she can
mhm,
kind of remember how the kind of neighborhood we grew up in, and those kind of surroundings have really developed me to who I am today.
mhm,
And that's also has pushed me very the direction of always having a positive message and not really not really always talking about my personal life when it comes to my experiences. A lot of times you hear musicians talk about how many drugs they're sold, how many
mhm,
this they're doing, how much of that they're doing, how much drugs they're inhaling, and how much they're drinking. And even though did some of that stuff, I never wanted to put it out there as to
Yeah.
like being letting it be glorified, because the way that kids are, they may not see the whole message. They may just see a blink and they see the cool thing that may be cool, um, that is actually not cool at the end of the day, because a lot of people end up being incarcerated for long periods of time. A lot of my friends
Mm-hmm.
got killed. A lot of them got deported. So sometimes I'm very careful about how I don't try to always put out there what I've experienced personally. I don't know if I answer my question sometimes, so
Oh,
let
no,
me
no,
know.
no. No, you answered it. You answered it. So
Yeah.
actually, my question was actually inspired by again, it's a video interview that I watched of you, and you talked about how when you were coming to the US, how you documented your journey, and so I wanted to see what was the difference between some of the stuff that you may have drawn or even experienced and you expressed through your art before coming to the US and then while in the US. Were there similarities? Were there differences? Did you find yourself your message going in a different direction, or were they still connected?
Yeah, funny you said that, because as a young kid, my mom was about 15 when she had me, and Nicaragua was in great turmoil. Civil war had just, it was the brink of, I guess, almost finishing up, but it was still lingering.
Hmm.
And she was a student protester, and I used to see her, doing her protest, and they used to learn how to do different things that I don't want to mention. And one of the things that I used to do is I used to draw little. I used to get a cardboard box and draw guns and rifles, and then
Hmm.
I would draw a whole bunch of them, and then I would give them to the neighborhood kids, and then I would start little marches, and then um, it's like I was being an activist before I knew what an activist was. I was just simply reflecting and doing what my mom was doing and my parents were doing, and nowadays a lot of do to this day. It seems like when people see my work, they see a political message in it,
Hmm.
and I'm not necessarily trying to be political with my things, but I do try to speak to some issues that I think that I can help bring more attention to. But I also try to be careful in the issues that I target and the way that I present them to people,
Hmm.
because people can see an image and get the completely opposite idea of what I'm trying to portray. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to be careful about that. And also, my main thing is not to try to push any political agenda, but instead try to see how is it that through all of the differences that we have, what is it that we have in common that we can work
Hmm.
towards and work together to accomplish that. Because and I learned that from Nelson Mandela, who is one of my greatest inspirations. And Nelson Mandela wasn't always trying to see how he can divide himself from the people that oppressed him. And I don't
Hmm.
know if you know, but one of the things that happened after he was incarcerated for 20 years, he looked to work together with the government that put him incarcerated. And through being able to do that, not only show his ability to forgive the people that did evil against him, but also see the bigger picture and try to better his whole people in working with
Yeah.
these people, and not necessarily agreeing with them and what they did was right. And it's not like he just forgot what happened. It's just more about seeing the bigger picture. And I
Yeah.
try to find that as much as I can. And always with the end goal being of what is going to be good for the people
Yeah.
that don't have a voice, and the people that really don't have someone speaking for them. And I may not be like the biggest voice, but whatever I can put up on a wall that hundreds of people, thousands of people can see, I want them to know that there are those people here that need to be acknowledged, need to be um, thought of, and also need to be encouraged.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. What is the toughest top, or what has been the toughest topic or message that you've had to address through your art in a way, like you said, that was still positive and that didn't cause offense? Can you give me an example of something
Yeah,
that or topic? Yeah.
yeah. So I actually worked on the mural, and that's how I got introduced to Project Create to a great extent. I worked on the mural with Project Create and then Acostia Bid, and we worked on this large scale mural called "We Are in Acostia." Is about one area is about 280 feet long, and the other one is I think it's about 180 feet long. And I wanted to represent people in the area. There's a lot of development that's happening here, and a lot of people are being kicked out, and a lot of really good people, elderly folks, are being kicked out because the developers are putting up these nice buildings that not everybody, they say affordable housing, but it's not really affordable
Mhm.
to the people that need it the most. And in this big mural, one of the main messages is that it states, "Don't mute us. Housing for us
Mhm.
matters." So when anytime somebody comes from over the bridge from the Capitol Hills area, they're driving over, so they're gonna see that mural and they're gonna see
Mhm.
that message, and they're gonna be able. And a lot of times, there's a red light there. It stops people. Traffic gets stopped a lot of times. So when they read that message, I want them to know that there are some people here that do need to be thought of. They need to be given the opportunity to stay here and enjoy those nice things that are coming because they've been here for 30, 40 years and they've been enduring all this crime, all this violence, and now they're being kicked out. So, I think and the good thing about this is a mural that we had a lot of input from the community, and we
Mhm.
also had a lot of small businesses get together and contribute to getting the monies for this funding for this. So I really appreciate Project Creator and across the bid for this great opportunity.
Awesome. And for those who have not seen it, it is, you cannot miss it. It is like, it's as soon as you stop at a red, well, actually, for me, I see it all the time when I'm on the way to work. It's so long and big. And I actually remember when Louise, when you were at our center and you were working on the paintings, I remember seeing you do it, and to see
Yeah.
it up now, it is very beautiful. You also, please make sure, I'm actually going to show the picture again. This is Louise, and this is the artwork, the wall. Please make sure to see it, take a picture by it. It's really, really nice, and it really does speak to the community. And as you stated, with a lot of the building that's going on and different things, there is no more affordable housing for people in the
Mhm.
area. And it's important for that message to not be buried, but to be seen. And it
Mhm.
also adds to the, I mean, the mural is very beautiful, so it also adds to the look of the community and the aesthetic. So it sends a message and it adds a great aesthetic. So thank you so much. And you actually have a few pieces, at least that I've seen in this area. I believe the other one is the Martin Luther King Jr. Mural. Um,
Yeah, Martin Luther King he's also another one of my favorite people
yeah.
to portray. He did so much for civil rights and being able to, losing him so young, but at the same time, it's like he had a bigger impact than a lot of the presidents have had in the last 40, 50 years. And
Mhm.
he also speaks to us like you don't always have to have a high office in the government to make a change. Community leaders sometimes make the biggest changes because they're the ones
Yeah.
really on the ground. They're the ones really thinking about the people, to the least of the people, the ones with the least voice. They're the ones that are in contact with them the most. And a lot of times when you waiting for politicians to answer your problems, you're going to be waiting for a long time because it's not going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Let me try though. There's some really good, and I'm not saying all politicians are bad because there's some really good ones, but I think the community has to want to change itself, and then politicians are just a little push, to make it go further. But
Yeah.
the major work should be done within the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
I'm in 100% agreement with that. And this actually brings me to my next question. How have you seen your art? And if this is any, and more so, this is something that you haven't been able to elaborate on yet. But how have you seen your art transform this community?
Um, in a greater way than I ever expected because a lot of times when I create something, I have my goal, my end goal. I want to beautify the area. I want to put out a
Mhm.
positive message. But when I see people come by, take pictures, post it up, and just they let me know. And sometimes it brings people to tears when they see a work of art, and that's what kind of inspires me to do even more because I would never think somebody would, be coming to tears looking at my artwork and telling me how much they appreciate it and how much the likeness that I capture in the personality. Like I did a portrait of Marion Barry, and people just keep telling me how great of her work is. And he was a very important figure in our community.
Mhm.
He did so much for the people here, especially in Ward 8 and also around the city because he did so much for the youth with the youth programs. So being able to portray these historical figures that live within our community, that even makes it even better for me and for the community, because a lot of people actually met him, and they met him either at dinner, they saw him at
Mhm.
a rally somewhere, or they went to one of his um, meetings out here by the big chair, or one of the areas here. So those things really connect with people, and I'm
Mhm.
usually very surprised by how well it's received and how much it is them beyond just art. It's more about an emotion that they feel.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I will say, it's like you mentioned, one of the biggest thing in this community is some of the figureheads of the community people still miss because of such the impact that they made. So to be able to see portraits and visuals of those figureheads is really important, and it does bring the community together. And I'll say, just from firsthand experience, Anacostia is a very tight knit
Mm,
community, and they really we like to support our own, and that is so it's very important. And I'll say another thing, Louise has some of his artwork at our art center in our gallery area, and whenever people pass by, or even when they come in the building and they see the work, they was like, oh my goodness, this is
uh,
really great, I love this, wow, who
uh,
did this? Now their first thought is, and I when they say it, I always laugh. The first thought is, oh wow, you got some talented kids.
oh
And I'm
yeah.
like, oh no. I said, no, this is work by Louise. But it's really great. And I love, one of the things that I love about your pieces is it does have that urban street feel
Mm.
to it. And it's very unique, and actually there is a series of work that you've done that I actually really liked, and I wanted to kind of get the inside scoop on what inspired you to do it. And I believe it was called a rose made out of concrete. Was that
The
the
rose that
correct?
grew from concrete? Yeah.
Yes,
So that's
yes,
a
yes,
series,
yes.
yeah. So I've been working on that series, inspired by that poem by Tupac Shakur. And I grew up listening to his music, and what was cool about him is that um, he had his all different sides of different points of views to his life and the way that things that he talked about. He had
Hmm.
his thug life kind of thing going on, very disrespectful, talked about all the craziest things you can think about. But
Hmm.
then you had the other side of him that was very conscious about his surroundings, conscious about the struggles of not only men but women. And he also was an activist at heart. And I think sometimes all the rough things and all the crazy things that he did, it was kind of like something to seek attention, and then he will bring that attention to another problem, to another situation. So I think that was kind of like a genius thing that he did. And so that inspired this whole series. And what I did with this series is started painting portraits of primarily women at first, women, just to put them in a bright light. A lot of times we see hip hop and the rap videos degrading women, and really making them look less than what they really are. And there's a place for those things, but I wanted to just speak to how I know women, how I see them, through the
Hmm.
lens of business, through the lens of entrepreneurs, through the lens of leaders. And it just so happens that most of the people that I work with the different organizations, they're all women.
Yeah.
Christina Knowles at the Costa Biz, or Christine Walsh at the Project Create. Most of the small businesses owned inside the Anacostia Art Center, Amanda Stephenson. Um, we have Anika. We have
Hmm.
we have so many women that are doing so many great things here, that
Yeah.
is the inspiration is really easy to come by. And then
Hmm.
I expanded that series to also including young men that I think have also contributed greatly to the community. And Jason, one of my friends, Jason, is someone that I have painted in several of my paintings, and he's also part of that. Jason, he calls him Jason. He's a great poet and also activist. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I saw several of the pieces on your website, and in fact, it was one here, but it's gone, and it was one
Oh,
of my favorite. I believe it was with Misty Copeland, and it
oh
had all of
yeah.
the. Yes, that was like my favorite. I'm like, where is that at? I really love that. Was one.
Love
That was
that.
probably one of my favorite.
talking about at the gallery.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So a law firm recently purchased the one that was at the gallery. Yeah. So
Oh,
it's
wow. Well,
something-
congrats.
yeah.
It was a very beautiful piece. Very
Thank you.
beautiful piece. I liked it, but I like the whole series. And like I said, I enjoy your style and really how you portray people. And you see a consistent message, and that is just positive reinforcement, whether it's showing women in a certain light or as you stated from your beginning stages, showing a beggar or a drug addict in a different
Yeah.
light. You, at the end of the day, your main goal is to be a positive reinforcement, and that's very important in especially in this community, but in the world. And so I definitely commend you for doing that and utilizing your art to make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and I
You're
think it's
so
important.
welcome.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to a lot of times not be judgmental towards people, no matter
Mhm,
what they do, no matter what political views they have, no matter what job they have. I think when we look at everyone with the dignity of a human being, whether they're 1 year old or they're 50 year olds or a 9 year old, the respect should be equal.
mhm.
And a lot of times, also, whether they have no money, they're millionaires or billionaires, we should look at them the same exact way because no one is no better than another person. And also, we all have this thing that we're not going to be here one day.
Mhm.
So the wealthiest person has the same problems that the poorest person have, and that is that you can't buy time and you can't buy happiness. Yeah.
That is so true. That is so true. Um, you recently worked on another great project, and that was through the Art to Go Go public art. Um, what Tell us about that project and what it was.
Oh man, that project was so amazing. Again, I got a chance to work with Christy and the Project Create family, Christina Noel from the Nacosta bid, and other stakeholders in the community. And I got a chance to work with Chuck Brown's family. So I worked with his son Willie, and the great thing was that I was really able to get a lot of feedback and ideas and how the best way to portray Chuck Brown, that way he would have loved to see himself if he was still alive. Because
Mhm.
sometimes we have ideas of how we think people are going to want to be portrayed, but then we see that our ideas were close, but they could have been better. And that was the best thing about this project, being able to work with his family, getting their feedback, and really learning more about go-go. And he actually started in a Latino band. He played with some Latinos as in his early career, and that kind of influenced a lot of the things that he did later with his beats, and Caribbean beats, and those things were infused into the go-go
Mhm.
culture. So being able to see that, and that's why you see go-go, and you see how, especially my culture, drums are used. They're a very large part of that, and the rhythms that they use are very similar to what we would listen to in our country, and that speaks to the language of music and the language of art, and it can be so universal. And then they did a very nice article in the picture they show. I finally got a copy of this magazine.
Oh, nice.
I was on the cover, and I found out that I was on the cover of that magazine about 3 months after it came out. So about 2 to 3 months after it came out, I didn't know I was on the cover, and then a friend of mine saw me at an event and told me, "Oh, you're on the cover of this stand." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I didn't know. So he thought I was playing that I didn't know, but a friend of mine, I posted it on Facebook and on Instagram that I didn't have a hardcover, and a friend of mine just happened to his neighbor, I guess, was placing the magazines around the city,
Mhm.
and she saw my post and asked his neighbor if he had any copies, and he just happened to have 3 copies. So that was something that I thought was pretty cool. So I wish I would have known. Then I would have had about 20, 30 copies. I just grabbed a stack. Yeah,
Nice,
yeah,
nice, nice. I'm sure you definitely was proud of that. And again, Chuck Brown is a big figure
yeah,
in DC. He's the father of go-go.
yes,
And even go-go, going back to kind of community issues, there was a movement with, go-go, not muting go-go. And so again, you were able to utilize your platform and your medium of art to keep something that is a really, really big history of DC, and that is go-go music. And so I know that you're definitely proud of that. And yeah, it's a beautiful piece. If anybody wants to come check it out, I believe there's a tour. I'm not sure when the tour starts, but there's supposed to be like a scooter guided tour, and there are
Oh,
actually different murals in the area for people to kind of go and see. So yeah, definitely check it out when you get a chance. Um, Luis, we're gonna wrap up soon. For those, it's almost time for Q&A. So if anybody has any questions, definitely start adding it in the chat so that I can see it. And while we're waiting for questions, Luis, I do want to ask you this, as I have a thing for asking very fun, weird questions. So I want to ask you this question, and I'm curious to know your answer. How would you describe the color yellow to somebody who is blind?
oh man, that's a lovely question. I would describe it as the heat of the sun. I think that's what comes to mind the most because it's hot. It gives you an idea of having an emotion, and I think somebody that's blind can actually feel the color of the sun through it, and by feeling something gives you an idea of what it would look like. So I think by feeling the rays of the sun would be the best thing.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I like that. I actually thought you were going to take a minute, but I
Oh
mean, you're an artist. You're an artist and you're creative. So
yeah.
it didn't take long to think of it. But that was a great response. Thank you so much. But then I would say, Louise, how do they know what the sun looks like?
No, they don't know what the sun looks like.
The
They just
heat.
know what it
So it's the
feels
heat.
like. Yep, and you know what happens with blind people is that they're able to. Yeah, the heat it makes it. Blind people can, from my understanding, and I can't say 100. It's like when they feel something, they can visualize something in their mind.
Mm,
So it's like even when somebody, if you think about somebody talking to you and they say that word cat, you kind of automatically picture a cat in your mind. So they might not visualize exactly what we visualize ourselves, but they do visualize something. I don't know what that would be though. I need to get it. I don't know any blind people, so if I do ever meet one, that's the first thing I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna remember your question. Yeah.
yeah, and then let me know what their answer is. I'm definitely curious to know.
Yeah.
We do have a question, Louise. I'm gonna put it up for you. It says, this is from Laura. It says, "Are you doing art? Is it Basel this year?
Basil. Oh yeah.
Basel this year."
Yeah. Hey Laura, it's great seeing you last year. Our Basel is last time I saw you. I hope to see you again soon. No, this year we did not go to our Basel. We were not sure whether they were gonna do the live. You know, they're doing it live, but they kind of made that decision like kind of last minute. So I didn't want to take a chance, book everything, and then they will be online. So unfortunately, I'm not there this year, but I will definitely be there next year. Because I think this pandemic, I'm hoping and I'm praying that I think it's gonna be gone. I don't think we're gonna be in this forever. So I'll see you next year for sure, Laura.
Awesome. Thank you so much for for your question, Laura. And if anybody else has one, feel free to answer to ask. I do have one more thing, Louise. What are some projects that you are working on or that are coming down the pipe for you? I'm sure your audience is curious to know, especially once COVID lifts.
Yeah, so right now I'm actually finishing up a mural for the Tucker Road Ice Rink, and it's a very cool mural because I'm also incorporating some neon lighting into it, and it's gonna kind of be like a three-dimensional piece that the my mural is kind of coming off the wall, and it kind of looks like it's floating with the light behind it, and I'm hoping to finish that in the next 3 weeks. So I'm been painting day and night on that mural. Um, I'm also working with the Nationals. We're working on a historical painting of the Grays, the African American team. And this is a very cool project. I got a chance to go to the Nationals Park, meet with the CEO there and some of the other people that are involved with this project. And, I live like 5 minutes away from the National Stadium. So this was a project that is really up my alley. And it's funny that several years ago when they first built it, I was like, I want to do something with them, and now's the time to do it. And I love historical paintings, so this is just right up my alley. And the people that I'm working with are really awesome. So I look forward to doing this project for them, plus more. And somebody
Awesome.
asked, "What is Art Basel?" So Art
Yes.
Basel, Art Basel is it's an exhibit from artists from around the world. It usually happens. They have one in Miami, I believe. They have one in California and one in Hong Kong. So they have it in different parts of the world, and I think they might have one in Australia as well. So it's a really good way to experience some of the best artists from around the world. And I was fortunate to go. I think it was before last year. I was able to go with the DMV League of Artists, awesome organization. And Laura actually put a link that you can also follow to get some more information on that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Laura, for the information. And it looks like we have another question. I believe it says it's from Project Create, but I believe it's from Christy. It says, what advice would you give young up and coming artists to achieve success?
Success is not easy. Success does not happen overnight. So the main thing that young people have to do is be persistent. You have to work hard and work smart. You have to do both. You can't just work hard and not work smart. You have to work smart and hard, and you also have to be able to try to be diversify your portfolio. When you're thinking about art, don't just think about painting. Think about graphic design, think about video production, think about creating logos. Because as you're coming up as an artist, I've been very fortunate. I've been painting and been doing fine arts since I was 16 professionally, and I've been very fortunate to do just that. But as an artist, with all the technology that we have today, there are so many ways to generate income. So when you think about art, think about clothing, think about shoes, think about book back products. So you want to be able to create products so you can sell things that are a lower price point, and then you can build up your clientele to have high price art. What I try to do as a young artist, I try to do it a little bit the opposite way. I try to first create valuable works of art and then create product, because I saw that that was the best way for me. But you also don't have to necessarily follow. You can get advice from artists, but a lot of times you have to kind of find your own way and take that advice and use it for a period of time. But at the same, you also have to find your voice. So the other thing that is really critical to an artist, especially a fine artist, is to try to find your voice and don't try to just copy other artists. A lot of artists get caught up copying other artists, and then their work 10, 20 years, and the whole time they're creating a carbon copy of what somebody had done previously. So that's something that's very important for artists to do. Find your own voice. And everyone, especially young people today, they have so much access to information. They have to study the old masters, study people that are living today that are masters as well. Don't just study people that are dead, also study people that are living. And you want to stay up on those things.
Awesome,
Um,
awesome. And we have it looks like we have a comment from someone. It says to Project Create and to Louise, thank you for a much needed discussion about the life experiences and work of a living artist. So many think it is just a gift and magic happens. Louise, you have come a long way through hard work, focus, and the ever present backing of your family. As an artist and a Latina, you have made us proud. My sincere appreciation for all that you do in the name of art. And this is from Carmen. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much,
much, Carmen. I've actually had the
Carmen.
opportunity to exhibit with Carmen, and I love her work as well. Her portraitures are exquisite, and can't wait to see some of her new stuff. She has some great art. Thank you, Carmen. I'm a big fan of your work as well.
And then I believe you answered this question, but maybe there's a different way you might respond to this particular question. It says, "What from Dorian says, what does success look like to you?" I believe you kind of answered it.
Well, to me, success is to it doesn't come with how many paintings I sell, how much popularity I get, how many followers I got. Success to me is about my art being able to move itself once I'm gone. Once I'm dead, if people 500 from now still talking about my art, That is what success is to me. So I don't think I'm going to feel successful during my lifetime. I think during my lifetime, I'm always going to feel like I have another mountain to climb. And success is longevity. To have people study my work once I'm dead. So I think about death more than I think about anything else, but not in a negative way, because death comes to 100% of the people living. And I think about it more about what is my legacy going to be as an artist. So success to me does not come from being popular. It doesn't come for how expensive my art continues to get. It doesn't come from people liking my art. Sometimes some people may not even like or understand certain pieces that I create. Um, and the other thing, as an artist, living artist today, the thing that I think about is being able to communicate with a large audience. That includes children. And I do my best to do that so that they can also learn from the works of art that I create.
Great response. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Louise. And before we close, um, I know that you have, I believe it's two boys.
Say that one more time.
I was saying, I know that you have, I think, is it two boys? Two
Yeah, I do.
boys?
Yes.
Are they young, up and coming artists?
They are. They love art. They paint. They draw almost every day. They love to do art projects all the time. But I'm not pushing them to be artists. I think that to be an artist is not something that you can learn how to be. I think it's something that you're born with, and I'm going to encourage them to I'm whatever they choose to be. I'm going to support that. If they choose to be artists, I would definitely support it, but I'm not pushing them to be artists. Being an
Yeah,
artist is something that you're born to be. You can't become an
yeah,
artist. You can't go to school and be taught to be an artist. You can learn techniques, but that doesn't mean you're an artist.
yeah. I 100% agree. One of my famous saying is that you can't teach creativity. Sometimes, to a certain extent, you have to be born with it. Um, and I mean, you can teach somebody how to draw and do certain things, but there's just a certain element of creativity that sometimes it's just something that's kind of ingrained in you. Um,
Yeah,
and so you can't force it. It has to be something that a person is definitely really passionate about.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I just know
Well,
he's a good friend of mine. Okay, I was gonna say
oh
good
no,
friend
no,
of
no.
mine as well, Jay, and that's another artist that I admire too. The way that he
Yeah.
uses colors, I'm so jealous of that in a good way. Like I don't know
Yeah.
how he picks those colors and he does his portraits. But Jay, man, you gotta teach me that sometime.
I mean, we all have our strengths. We'll see. I was having a conversation. It wasn't about art, but it was just about something in general. And it's the weird thing is that you'll discover when you're talking to other people is you'll say, "No, I like this about you," but they'll be like, "No, but I like this about you," and
Yeah,
it's like we see things that we want or that we like in each other, and then it's like,
mm,
no, I think you're way better than me, and then they're
yeah,
like, no, you're way better. It's a life thing, and it's
yeah,
and I think that's just how humanity is in general. We the saying is that we're our own worst critics.
yeah, yeah,
And we
yeah,
always will see something in someone that we wish that we could do, but deep down they're saying, I wish that I could do some of the things that they can do. So the most important lesson in that is that we all have something that we're strong in, something to be proud of, something that represents us, and we just have to learn how to own it.
yeah. Definitely. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Louise, for taking the iron sharpens iron. Yes, yes. Thank you so
Oh
much
man,
for that quote, Dorian. Yes, that's so true. Thank you so much, Louise, for joining us today for the first episode of Creatives Talk. It's definitely been an enjoyable conversation. And for those who want to keep in touch with Louise, you can definitely follow him on his social media page at Louise202 Artist. This is Instagram. You can also check out his website, lovehopeart.com. And for those who want to stay connected with Project Create, you can follow us at Project Create DC on our Instagram page as well as our Facebook page, or you can visit our website at projectcreatedc.org. Thank you again, Louise. It's been so great chatting with you. Let's see, a few people said wonderful conversation. Laura said this was great. Thank you so much. It was an awesome
Thank you, Laura.
conversation. And you all have a great evening. Thank you for checking us out. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you.